We saw this afternoon, this evidence from Matthias Cormann that underestimating the cost of JobKeeper by $60 billion and 3 million workers was a simple estimation error, the Finance Minister said. And Treasury Secretary Stephen Kennedy, well, he took full responsibility. Have a listen.
The $60 billion estimates variation in relation to the JobKeeper program is not an accounting error, as it has been falsely described by some. It is an estimates variation in the context of substantially changed economic parameters. When the JobKeeper program was first costed, we were in a rapidly evolving situation. There was a lot of uncertainty about the depth and the breadth and the length of the health crisis, and consequently, a lot of uncertainty about the depth and the breadth and the length of the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic in Australia.
As the Secretary of the Treasury, I take full responsibility for the revised costing of the JobKeeper program and all matters associated with the advice that Treasury has provided.
OK, so the Treasury Secretary, Stephen Kennedy, takes full responsibility. He actually tabled a statement. So his opening statement we saw on Sky News wasn't the full statement. I want to take you to this because there's an interesting couple of lines in here. So he says, in the context of the medical advice and social distancing restrictions agreed by National Cabinet and announced on 24th of March, that's when restaurants and pubs shut, Treasury provided briefing to the Treasurer on two economic scenarios on the 27th of March. One assumed the restrictions would be in place for 6 months. That suggested GDP could be around 10 or 12% below what it previously was in the next 2 quarters. Another scenario was put where you'd have tighter restrictions, only a narrow set of essential industries and services would be allowed, and those extra tough restrictions, like we've seen in Europe, things like construction and manufacturing being shut down, would be in place for 8 weeks before reverting to a lower level of restrictions for the remaining 4 months. Under this scenario, Treasury was estimating GDP declining by 24% a quarter and 4.8 million fewer people working across the economy over the 8-week period of the tighter restrictions. Now, this was the key decision which led to the stuff-up, according to Stephen Kennedy. It was judged prudent to cost JobKeeper using Treasury's worst-case economic scenario being modelled at the time, not where restrictions were at that time. Now, Scott Morrison always told us if you shut things down, it had to be for 6 months. That's what the 6 months of JobKeeper was based on. Presumably, that was based on health advice. So this 8-week lockdown scenario is interesting. Also in the committee this afternoon, Matthias Cormann and Treasury officials asked why the free childcare tap is to be turned off in July, as Treasury officials confirmed that women and young people have been most affected by unemployment in this crisis. The senators who were questioning him were arguing that this disadvantages women. Have a listen.
Do you acknowledge that women have lost their jobs at a higher rate than men have during this crisis?
I might let Treasury comment in relation to the data, if you want.
In this fall, women and younger people have been overrepresented in terms of the falls in, and a lot of that is around the structure of the industries that have been most affected: arts and recreation, retail, accommodation, jobs that areas where employment was more dominated by women and young people, I would say as well.
So was there any modelling done or any consideration given to the fact that, A, more women have lost work and have been more significantly impacted, was there modelling done that it was women that was increasing the demand for childcare, and was consideration taken to the fact that most of the workers in childcare are women?
So we considered, all of these matters.